Subscribe now and press the bell icon. Never miss an update.
Hello. This video will give you a section-wise summary of the poem Crossing Brooklyn Ferry, written by Walt Whitman. First of all, let's have a brief introduction to the poem. Crossing Brooklyn Ferry is a poem written by Walt Whitman, an American poet, in 1856. It is part of his famous collection Leaves of Grass. The poem reflects Whitman's celebration of the interconnectedness of individuals across time and space. The poem is set on a ferry crossing the East River from Manhattan to Brooklyn, but it transcends this specific moment, becoming a meditation on the shared human experience. Whitman explores the idea that despite the passage of time, the river, the ferry, and the people crossing remain constant, creating a sense of continuity and unity. Overall, Crossing Brooklyn Ferry is a poetic exploration of the connection between the poet, the reader, and humanity as a whole, emphasizing the enduring and universal aspects of the human condition. Let us now look at the summary of the section first. In the beginning of the poem, the poet describes being by the riverbank, watching a ferry and its passengers. He sees the people on the ferry as a symbol of all humanity coming together. The natural elements like the tide, cloud, and sun play important roles in the spiritual connection between the poet and the world around him. The poet interacts with both nature and people, aiming to create a strong connection between himself and the reader through imagination. Summary of Section 2. In the second part of the poem, the people on the ferry become like everlasting support for the poet. He reflects on the well-organized design of the universe and feels connected to it, considering himself a part of this grand plan. The poet envisions future generations taking the ferry, creating a connection between him and those who will come 100 years later. This establishes a link between the poet and the others, including readers in the future. Summary of Section 3. In the third part of the poem, Whitman says that time and place don't matter because he is connected to both the present and future generations. He speaks directly to people in the future, telling them that he too experienced the sights and sounds they will experience, watching seagulls, seeing ships and flags, observing foundry chimneys at night. This section highlights the poet's wish to go beyond time and space to connect with future readers who will share similar experiences. The vivid description of the river journey reflects the poet's movement from one side to another, both physically and spiritually from morning to midnight. Summary of Section 4. In the fourth part, Whitman expresses a strong love for cities, the river, and the people. This marks a change in his attitude as he emotionally connects with others and the things around him. He looks ahead to the future, forcing a deep spiritual connection between himself and the reader. Summary of Section 5. In the fifth part of the poem, the poet explores the connection between himself and future generations. Despite the vast time gap, they are linked by unchanging elements. The poet reflects on his own experiences in Brooklyn and Manhattan, feeling a deep connection with the questions that arise within him. He sees his physical existence as a ferry, uniting him with all of humanity. This section is at the heart of the poem, as the poet seeks to unite his own experiences with those of the reader, transcending the limits of the Brooklyn Ferry to create a universal connection. The quest becomes more intellectual, symbolized by curious, abrupt questionings, indicating a shift from emotional to intellectual exploration. The metaphor of a chemical solution suggests a spiritual unification, where the poet is merged with the infinite ocean of spiritual life, connecting him with future generations and all of humanity. Summary of Section 6. In the sixth part, the poet reveals that he, too, has faced moments of doubt, and his best actions have seemed questionable. He acknowledges experiencing feelings of evil, like lying and stealing, However, he emphasizes that life is what we choose to make of it, either great or small. The old knot of contrariety refers to the struggle between good and evil influenced by Satan. The poet suggests that everyone faces such challenges and impurities in life, encouraging the reader not to feel alone in these experiences and to accept both the pure and impure elements of life. Summary of Section 7. In the seventh part, the poet tells the reader, "Closer yet I approach you." He envisions a connection not only with the current reader but also with those who are yet to be born. While the reader is currently thinking about the poet while reading, the poet imagines watching the reader. The poet seeks to create a link not just in physical location, like on the ferry, but also in thought processes. This connection, evolving through shared thoughts, aims for a mystical fusion between the poet and the reader. Summary of Section 8. In the eighth part, Whitman describes the beauty of the Manhattan harbor, the river's sunset, seagulls, and twilight. He recognizes subtle but lasting bonds between himself and others. The most delicate bond is with the person looking in my face. These connections go beyond ordinary understanding, teaching, or preaching. They are mystical and intuitive. Reflecting on the river scene, Whitman emphasizes the spiritual bond uniting people. The mention of fusion represents the fundamental ideal the poet pursued from the start. The union with the reader is mystical, surpassing rational thought or philosophy. Summary of Section 9. In Section 9, the poet asks the river, clouds, and other elements of nature to continue their roles beautifully. He wants everything, from birds to the sky, to contribute to the universal life flow. The poet wishes for a connection between his soul and physical objects, emphasizing their importance in the overall life process.